As you might already know, a man named Jaker Barber says he was part of a covert program that worked with alien spacecraft for years, and claims wholeheartedly that the US has absolutely recovered UAPs, including this egg-shaped craft here. Believe it or not, foreign egg-shaped objects have been seen before. First published in 1976, Mind Reach is a book that led to the US Army psychic spy program and something called remote viewing. In this book, scientists look at psychic abilities, something awfully similar to what was talked about in a recent interview with Stanford professor Gary Nolan, but more on these so-called abilities a little bit later. In 1979, just 3 years after this book, the movie Alien was released, which also had similar imagery to what we've seen lately, both in shape and color. This is most likely nothing but a coincidence, but interest in giant eggs, psychic abilities, and non-human intelligence became a thing decades ago. Mork and Mindy was an American television sitcom that aired on ABC from September 1978. It was about Mork, an alien from the planet Ork, on a mission to Earth to study human behavior. He travels to 1970s Boulder, Colorado, where he meets up with a woman named Mindy, a young journalism graduate, after his egg-shaped spacecraft lands there. All of these egg-like UFO or craft appeared as if out of nowhere in the late 1970s, but it goes further than that. 2 Kentucky police officers were flying a helicopter at the scene of a suspect break-in in 1993 when they saw something they couldn't explain. They said a fast-traveling egg-shaped UFO shot 3 fireballs at them before flying away.
Some type of egg, a pear-shaped object with a glow inside.
The officers were flying a Jefferson County police helicopter at the scene of a suspected break-in near Butyl Bank Road when they saw that egg, pear-shaped object.
When the light at that time appeared on it, it just started floating towards the helicopter.
The UFO, about the size of a basketball, began making loops while the officers did their best to keep them within sight, but not too close, as both chopper and whatever traveled at around 100 miles an hour.
I know it was traveling at speeds I'd never seen before.
And suddenly, the UFO turned on its pursuer.
It shot 3 fireballs out, and just the lights went out, and it come at us, and he turned the helicopter, and it was gone.
The officers still don't know what it was they saw or what happened to it, but today GE employee Dwayne Hitchler was called in to fill a mysterious hole near where the encounter took place.
There was no apparent reason for it to be there, you know.
Dwayne says the mysterious hole was just about the size of a basketball, just like the UFO.
I believe that it was maybe an egg or something that was in the ground that hatched, you know, and just came up out of the ground and took off.
Once they returned to base, officers Graham and Downs made a full report to their commanding officer.
There's no doubt in my mind that there was an object out there. What it is, I don't know.
The lieutenant and his men say they simply don't know exactly what it was they encountered, but they remain largely skeptical of the existence of unidentified flying objects.
I believe in this earth and people, and anything is possible. That's all I can say.
The Air Unit's commander also said today that he is certain there is a very logical explanation for all of this. They just don't know what it is right now. At the Jefferson County Government Center, Michael Gargiulo, Channel 32 News.
If we take a look at this list of reported UFO sightings on Wikipedia, an egg shape comes out at number 6 for the most common, of which 2 well-documented sightings featured egg-shaped craft in late 1957, one near Brazil and the other in Albuquerque. Then, just 7 years after that, was the Lonnie Zamora incident in Socorro, another egg-ish shaped UFO sighting, which coincidentally was also in New Mexico and only 35 miles north of White Sands Missile Range, the location of Trinity, the detonation of the first ever nuclear weapon. Fast forward to the summer of 2020, and a family in Utah were outside playing basketball when one of them looked up and saw this.
Get a picture of it because it's incredible. It looks like a clock in the sky. It's totally a UFO.
In my professional opinion, it is a UFO.
There's nothing else that can possibly
no
be.
doubt.
There's lights everywhere.
This is serious. It's for real.
I don't believe in this stuff.
I'm very skeptical.
Yeah, Mr. Cameraman, with the steady hands. Oh, it's gone again.
It's right there.
Right there.
Oh.
Get each individual right. Being so much further away now.
Oh, you can see the blinking on my camera.
Oh, really?
Baby, look at my screen.
Can you narrow it down?
Now, many people believe that these orbs are actually something called plasmoids, a coherent structure of plasma and magnetic fields. Some scientists believe that plasmoids are actually sentient and have intelligence. A TikToker who goes by Interstellar Discussion went a lot deeper on this theory.
Plasmoids exhibit intelligent behaviours, and scientists and other researchers in the field are now questioning whether this is a display of intelligent behaviours and some form of sentience, right? The fella sat beside me here is called the Squatter Man, and he's appeared all over the world for thousands and thousands of years from all sorts of different religions and aspects, right? And some archaeologists believe that the motive associated with the aurora phenomenon due to plasma discharge, specifically a Z-pinch instability, right? Check this out. What you're seeing behind me here is an example of where this symbol appears all over the world, right? So all of these areas here are all sorts of different cultures and things where this symbol appears, and then you've got the main Squatter Man here, and then to the left is the actual symbol for a plasma discharge phenomena that happens up in the atmosphere, right? So this kind of goes to say that back in the day, did our ancestors observe such an event where they were absolutely mind blown and they drew this as a representation of what they saw, right? Because it's a man and he's got two orbs around the side, and obviously a lot of this does represent to an extent with the plasmodial and orb activity, where throughout history again people have witnessed these strange lights in the sky, and there's paintings of them and all sorts of other different things, which is kind of interesting.
So this takes me closer to these so-called abilities. Some people claim that they can connect with these UFOs almost as if the craft themselves are conscious. This clip is from the Skywatcher HQ YouTube channel and features an interview with individuals directly involved with the supposed UAP crashed recovery efforts, and individuals who claim to be able to summon these objects in the sky.
We had a couple of our folks that felt like it was a good time to try to communicate with potentially a craft or an entity that was out there through the methods that they use. You know, I just took a spot up on the roof to be able to observe what's out and around us, and then also have another set of eyes that are up above us. So got on the roof to say, you know, I'll be up here, had my phone, you know, let's be ready to record if something went down, and it did.
The psionic team claimed to be connecting with an object, and our sensor data caught this. While this was happening, Fred went up to see if he could see anything with his naked eye.
So I can hear them talking through certain things, and then he said something like, it's forming. As soon as he said that, I stepped out to look behind me, and that's when I saw whatever it was.
Suddenly, Fred saw a second object appear above our base camp.
It was all gray, matte, like not shiny at all. It was elongated oval where it looked like there was, you know, the opposite of a seam bursting out in the middle, going all the way around, and so it looked like a rim, because the bottom half of it was extremely dark. It made absolutely no sound, which doesn't make sense because of its proximity. Like, if it was small, if it was something maybe the size of this razor, then it was really close.
As strange as it appears, this is not the first time something like this has happened. Back in May of 2005 in Las Vegas, Nevada prophet Yahweh summoned what he believed to be a UFO live on ABC News.
All right, guys, just listen up here. This guy says the Old Testament, written in Hebrew, taught him how to summon UFOs. All right, he says he can also do this on command, and he adds he's been doing it for 25 years, keeping all of it secret until now.
These beings are here. They are here. They're just sitting right up there.
We met up with Prophet Yahweh, seer of Yahweh, at Doolittle Park off Lake Mead. We picked the day, we picked the time, and we picked the location. Everyone's going to think you're absolutely nuts.
Well, I thought I was absolutely nuts.
Until he says he saw UFOs. Over the years, 1,500 of them.
Can we make it 1,501 today? What do you think?
I'll try it.
He says the voice in his head told him to go public now. So we took him up on his offer, and we scanned the skies. Nothing but a few clouds. When the prophet started praying for a sighting, I wasn't exactly convinced.
I pray, oh Yahweh, that you send a sighting so that they know that I am not mentally ill. I am not a false prophet, like those who seek to kill me say I am.
I see something straight up.
Oh, brother, look at it. There it is.
You can barely see it, a white speck. Then another sighting.
There it is. I got it.
Photojournalist Jonathan Hawkins locks in on it. Let's take a closer look here. It's an orange sphere that appeared out of nowhere. I call the boss with an unexpected change in my story. I can see it clear as day. In fact, it's bright.
I can't believe this.
It's moving pretty fast.
It's going to Nellis Air Force Base. It wants to be seen.
We called Nellis to see what these things might be. Guess what? They didn't call us back. But this thing started coming back toward us. It's coming toward us now, I think.
What?
See, it's coming up toward us.
Whoa, man! Oh, hallelujah!
Then, a few seconds later, it disappeared.
It's going back up in space.
Prophet Yahweh isn't concerned. He says it'll be back. And I'm still not quite sure what those things were. Now, if I didn't see this for myself, I probably would have just laughed this whole thing off.
Do these things operate through the power of thought? Australian journalist and author Ross Coulthart speculated on this very thing during an interview with Stanford professor Gary Nolan.
So, Professor, on the evidence you've seen, do you find it plausible that the US government is using psionic psychic operators to attract UAP NHI craft?
I can only say what I saw there was somebody who claimed to be interacting with something. Do I think it's possible? We're already working in the world of the Elon Musks, who are putting devices into people's brains to be able to talk directly to brains. I have no problem imagining a technology 1,000 years from now where even humans can interact with each other in some sort of pseudo-psionic manner. I don't know what it is that might be required to interact with a non-human intelligence.
Have these egg-shaped craft been seen before in the past? Did the author of this book understand something we don't? Once again, these things aren't just being spotted in America. The UK have also received their fair share of sightings lately. In mid-January of 2025, residents of Devon recorded orbs similar to that seen in the States. These objects were seen by so many people that it made it to mainstream media, with many websites featuring a video of them by a woman named Denise Betty. Devon is a county in southwest England. It encompasses sandy beaches, fossil cliffs, old towns, and moorland national parks. Nothing particularly abnormal. But it's interesting because back in October of 1974, residents of this same county saw flying objects they just couldn't explain. And the drawing the policeman made that day is eerily similar to something else. UFO journalist Jeremy Corbell released a photo of what he is calling a chandelier UAP spotted over the Persian Gulf. Although the image hasn't been independently verified, the photo was taken from a video shot by military thermographic, forward-looking infrared cameras. According to Corbell, the object is officially designated a UAP by the Pentagon. Assuming this is the same thing, it seems like this particular object has been making its way around the world for at least 50 years. I asked AI about this.
Both regions share military significance. Devon has historical air bases and naval facilities, while the Persian Gulf is a hotspot for modern military activity. Coastal areas also have a high number of UFO sightings, possibly due to experimental craft or unknown atmospheric phenomena. The UFO's star or chandelier shape is truly unconventional. This can suggest something beyond our normal perception, possibly a craft or entity interacting with dimensions beyond the three we perceive.
A far-fetched theory, but we are talking about possible non-human intelligence already, so this UFO was seen in Montana. The original poster said it was amazing and that it responded to her son.
What is that? What are you? No, Hiram, look! It just totally changed shapes on here. And I'm not moving. Okay, guys, if you watched from the beginning of this, you saw, look. What is that? What are you? What are you?
Seems friendly.
Hi.
Maybe it's waving.
Do you want to change colors? Or is that just your color? What are you doing? Oh my God. What are you doing?
So that was it. That's the one that I saw.
Whoa. You're,
That's a drone.
You're very interesting. Oh my God.
It's turning into a circle.
Whoa.
Could you change colors?
Oh my God, it did!
Yeah! Yo, you're sweet!
Thank you for doing that for my baby.
Dude, you should come and dab me up. Seriously, not even gonna lie.
Oh my God, you are so beautiful. Oh, what the fuck? Pardon my mouth. Wow, you guys are so beautiful. Thank you for letting us see you. Thank you for changing colors for my son. You are amazing.
And something almost identical was seen in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden.
Är det inte här lite gå in i... Jag undrar om de här aliens vill ha lite privacy kanske?
Vad är det för någonting?
Vad tror du det är? Aliens, mamma? De har sin space party. Det är aliens! De har sitt Diddy-party.
It's almost endless, the number of sightings being recorded lately. Mikey Watts recorded this bizarre video from Las Vegas.
Guys, nobody's talking about it, but between me and the airport, or me and the strip, is the Las Vegas airport. I was out here for 3 hours last night. Not a single plane took off or landed, and then the same thing's happening tonight. Last night I have video footage of there was a bunch of different lights around, like beams of lights it looked like, around this part above the strip. But tonight, we've got sitters. And I'm very confused at why no planes are landing and they're just flying over and around the strip. There's another one that's out there. So you can see the planes in the background moving, whereas the other objects are not.
Remember, all of this started in New Jersey, and until recently, we haven't received any answers.
I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States.
The White House just confirmed there that the New Jersey drones were authorized by FAA for research and various other reasons, but these so-called drones have actually been seen in that area for decades. And here's an example. On the 23rd of August 1974, John Lennon claimed to have seen a UFO moving slowly over his New York City apartment by the East River. Check this out.
Up there, I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river. It wasn't a helicopter, it wasn't a balloon, and it was so near.
And it looked what, sort of round, white, luminescent, and silent?
Silent, and it looked dark, like black or grey in the middle, and had white lights, just looked like light bulbs, you know? Just going off, on, blink, 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 round the bottom, and on top was a red light.
This is the drawing of what John Lennon saw that day. He said the craft could have been as close as 100 feet away, which doesn't really make any sense to me unless it wanted to get a glimpse of the singer-songwriter.
If not a known aircraft, possibilities could include an experimental silent propulsion system, such as early stealth technology or electromagnetic propulsion, though such advancements weren't publicly known at the time.
But why this area over any other place? Other than the New Jersey area, Manchester Airport was also another hotspot where things seemed to take off in the last few months. This blue sphere confused commercial pilots when it was seen on the tarmac. But once again, for some odd reason, this spot has seen its fair share of UFOs in the past as well. This short clip is from the Manchester Evening News back in 2011.
It's nothing unusual actually. You do hear when you work here about sightings of UFOs, things unusual in the sky. They do tend to ring the airport, either ring air traffic control or they'll ring the airport itself just to report that they've seen something it's not in the usual place. Obviously if you live around the airport, you live around Manchester, you know the direction that planes come in, you know what an aircraft looks like in the sky, so if you see something that's out of the ordinary and it's up there rather than on the ground, you feel like you need to report it.
I think there's always something to it. I do believe in it because I've seen things myself, and I know there's been stories of pilots actually seeing them more than once, quite a few times, but you don't say to someone, oh, by the way, I've just seen a UFO, because they all think you're mad. But I do believe they're out there, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't report it, no. You'd probably just get laughed at, really, wouldn't you? So
there's got to be something else out there. You can't be just us here on Earth, can there? So I don't know, unless it's I suppose seeing's believing. If you actually see something, then it's got to be right, isn't it?
Whenever there's a UFO sighting, it's widely reported. Suddenly, the number of calls we get about UFO sightings go up because suddenly people's eyes are drawn to the sky. They want to find their own UFO, and generally people do. All the radar systems on the ground, in the air, the aircraft themselves, they all keep an eye out. So it isn't something to worry about, but if you have seen something that worries you and you think we need to know, then let us know.
I looked at the National UFO Reporting Center map and saw that there was actually a sighting nearby just months before this news article. Perhaps this is another hotspot for good reason.
First, it's a major international transport hub, meaning a lot of air traffic passes through the area. This could make it more likely for unusual objects to be noticed, especially if they're flying outside typical flight paths or behaving differently from conventional aircraft. Additionally, Manchester's location in the UK places it near several other historically significant hotspots, including the Pennines, which has seen numerous reports of unexplained aerial phenomena.
Interesting. AI mentioned the Pennines there, which are known for their rugged terrain, high moorlands and remote valleys. Very similar topography to that seen in Calvin, Scotland, where one of the most famous sightings of a UFO was reported in August of 1990. Linville Logan, a retired Air Force intelligence analyst, recently explained to Joe Rogan that he once saw this same craft when he was younger.
Yeah, that one. I had just cross-trained from maintenance into intelligence, and I was going to my first intel assignment. And I'm flying from Philadelphia to Frankfurt, Germany, to Rhein-Main Air Base. Somewhere between Iceland and Scotland, this thing is zipping around in the clouds, doing this ziggy-zaggy thing. I don't know what it was doing, but it was doing this. The sun was just coming up, and I'm eating a Philly cheesesteak, and the other guy's with me, he's eating a hoagie, and the other guy that's standing up over the top, where I'm like, anybody know what that is? And they're like, dude, what is that? And then all of a sudden in my head, I'm like, oh, this is my first intel assignment. I'm gonna get clued into some cool-ass shit. But I don't know what the hell that is. But I'm just thinking...
And it looks just like that.
It looks just like that. And the way it was moving in the clouds, it was like, because of the shadowing, it was like going from like that color to like dark, and then light again as it was moving in. And it would go into a cloud on one vector and come out on another vector. And I'm like, what is that?
Could this type of terrain be home to another civilization? Could this intelligence live underground?
If such an intelligence does exist, they may have remained undetected either by choice or because their technology allows them to avoid human discovery.
Native Brazilians from the Amazon were asked about aliens for the first time on a podcast a couple of years back. They were shown pictures of greys, like the ones you see here. They said they had never heard of the word alien, but clearly recognized them from the image.
Isso aqui?
Sim.
Mancunawabu.
Mancunawabu.
Sério?
Mancunawabu. Mancunawabu é que mora debaixo da terra.
É, eu falei, esse aí.
Que se virou formiga, hoje que nós chamamos Una, que é uma formiga grande, chama-se Mancunawabu.
Que essa formiga também é muito perigoso, né, Boina? Se as pessoas ficam mexendo com ela demais, ela leva o espírito da pessoa para debaixo da terra também. Para voltar tem que ser um pajé bem bom.
São seres que pode aparecer em luz divina, com a luz do Nishpan. São seres que a gente pode ter o contato, que moram debaixo da terra.
The thought of a species living underground is pretty far-fetched even for me. But as crazy as this sounds, a US submarine admiral shared a story with Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett, saying that he believes aliens have underwater bases here on Earth, after seeing a UFO bigger than a football field underwater one day.
Well, the last thing he told me was they're real. He said they're real. It was just me and him talking in a doorway, actually, and he described sonar readings of something, and I believe it was described as large as a football field, and the speeds were just something that we're not even close to being able to do underwater. I wasn't thousands of miles an hour. It was in the realm of a couple hundred miles an hour, but still, I think the closest thing we've got something that does close to 40 miles an hour, maybe, or 45, something like that. I don't know, maybe some of our secret apparatus, but anyway, and this is not the first time this has happened. And I've talked to others that have said the exact same thing. People that were on a ship or on a sub, they had weird pings, things that showed up, and they moved at such a speed that it was just not fathomable.
Strange. I checked the comments section of this TikTok video and someone had said, "The Abyss. Everyone needs to go and watch this movie from the 1990s. It's soft disclosure of alien life in the ocean." And so I looked up the movie The Abyss from 1989, and it's about a US submarine named USS Montana having an encounter with an unidentified submerged object, and it sinks near the Cayman Trough. Almost exactly what Tim Burchett was talking about. Now, the Cayman Trough is the deepest point in the Caribbean Sea and forms part of the tectonic boundary between the North American plate and the Caribbean plate. If there were any place to hide out, it would be in the Cayman Trough. And then there's Lou Elizondo, the former head of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, sharing this with Joe Rogan recently.
And I remember speaking to one individual who pulled me aside very privately, and he said, "Lou, we were tracking this thing doing, and I won't say the exact speed, but hundreds and hundreds of knots underwater, and it was bigger than our own submarine." Right now, you know how big our submarines are, right? They're huge.
Yeah.
And I asked him, naively, I just kind of came out, "Well, what do you do when you encounter that?" And he just said, very honestly, he said, "We go around." Just like that, we go around.
It's all a wild theory, but perhaps this is how they've managed to be avoided for so long, which you'd imagine would be super difficult because, once again, these craft have allegedly been around since the 1940s. This is an interview taken of a soldier who was said to be at the UFO crash site in Roswell all those decades ago.
The following morning we went out to the site where the crash was, and what I saw, I couldn't believe there was so much of it. It was scattered over such a vast area. So we proceeded to pick up as much of the debris as we could, loaded in a wagon. We filled that up. It took us a good part of the day to do that, because there's such small fragments that we had to do a lot of picking. We found a piece of metal about a 1.5 to 2 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet long. Felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than the foil out of a pack of cigarettes. But the thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it, you couldn't dead it. Even with a sledgehammer would bounce off of it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was.
For this reason, among many others, it's believed that this activity really kicked off in the 1940s, but because of certain historical paintings, this may not entirely be true. Once again, Joe Rogan speculated on this with Jeremy Corbell during a podcast back in 2019, before all of these recent so-called drone sightings.
Do you know of, there's a very famous painting that shows what appears to be men in crafts flying through the sky in the background of an ancient painting. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I actually have a page. One of the first pages I ever put on my website is like a bunch of these, because throughout history there are these indications of ships, of craft.
But like, you know what the one I'm talking about? It's like, and it's that's the shape of it. It's also like a plate turned on its side, and then there's a person inside of it.
Yeah, man. It's
flying through in that same. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, look how it's flying.
But you know, the thing is that everybody can say art. The one above that's pretty cool because that was a hidden thing. I've studied that one where it says Discovery 15th century. Above her left shoulder, there is an object, and if you really zoom in, look at the dude staring up at it. As a painter, my wife is a painter, everything is intentional.
Which guy? Where's the guy? The guy on the
right over there. It's pretty cool.
Looking up.
So I think that's 15th century, it said.
Pause it right there. Doesn't this object in the painting look almost identical as the thing the family in Utah recorded? Both appear to be circular or even football-shaped with little lights shining around the edges. What do you think?
Pictures like paintings we're talking about, man, you can interpret them all day. I can't hold on to that. I can hold on to an eyewitness with other eyewitnesses, with radar systems, and with video. We're in a different era now. We don't have to paint it, man. We get to see it. It's fascinating, man.
And obviously Jeremy is right. We no longer have to paint what we see. I mean, people were recording these things all around the world. This object was recorded globally on the 7th of January 2025. Weirdly enough, I actually saw this thing myself in person in New Zealand, and is one of the reasons why I started this channel. It was a very long blue rod-shaped light that traveled from west to east. There was no separation between lights like Starlink satellites, nor was it listed as a recent Starlink or Starshield launch, and it didn't appear on any flight radar apps as a plane. Here is the same object over Brazil. And this strange thing was seen by a Colombian pilot on the same day, just hours earlier. But after all of these worldwide sightings, these UAP are still appearing in New York State. This video was recorded by Chris C. at a subway station in Brooklyn.
Am I crazy or... What the fuck? What is this? Nah, yo. Bro, am I going crazy or are those... I think those drones, bro. What the fuck? Nah, yo. What the fuck? That's crazy. No one's... Bro, nah, that's insane. Damn.
But apparently not everyone has seen these things in the sky. I mean, look at these comments. Why does it seem like these sightings are increasing with each week that passes, yet most of the public are unaware of any of it? It's almost as if we live in two different worlds.
There could be several reasons for this. One possibility is simply an increase in surveillance and technology. More people have smartphones, high-quality cameras, and access to live satellite feeds than ever before, making it easier to capture and share strange aerial phenomena. At the same time, governments and the military are more open about UAP encounters, like the Pentagon's reports in recent years, which could be fueling even more attention.
This entire thing just gets stranger and stranger the deeper you dive into it. It's difficult to understand what's going on. I asked AI one more time to list 10 things this could really be, and most of the things it listed were just plain creepy. It seems like a lot of the UAP we're seeing as of late have actually been seen for decades by thousands of people. Camera phones just weren't available at the ready back then. But at the end of the day, the UFO phenomenon is still one of the biggest mysteries of our time. Whether these sightings are advanced technology, humans from the future, something beyond our understanding, or just misidentified objects, the truth is out there. We just have to separate fact from fiction to find it. Something I can't wait for. So join me next time as we jump down another rabbit hole or two in the hopes of connecting more dots. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.